Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It's my honor, privilege, and pleasure to welcome you to the second annual conference on the Muslim Ummah. This conference is an academic gathering organized by the Center for Islam and Global Affairs, CIGA, at Istanbul Sabahattin Zaim University. We have this conference, second year in a row, thankfully, in cooperation with two academic institutions, Al-Walid Center for Muslim Christian Understanding at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., and the College for Islamic Studies at Hamad bin Khalifa University in Doha, Qatar. So we thank them for being our partners, as well as our support, for their support to have this conference. So we inaugurate this conference. Thank you for being with us today. As you know, CIGA is an independent research institution housed here at Istanbul Zaim University. We're interested in conducting high-quality research on issues that impact the Muslim world, Muslim societies in particular. So this conference is the embodiment of some of the problems we see across the Muslim world. It's titled Fault Lines and Perils Facing Muslim Societies, the Challenges of Sectarianism, Secularism, Nationalism, and Colonialism. These are simply four problems that the Muslim world is facing today, among many. CIGA has 4 departments. One department is to study Islam and Muslim societies. Another is geopolitical and strategic studies. The third is Islamophobia and Muslim minorities around the world. And the fourth is academic development, civic engagement, and training. All these 4 departments have different activities throughout the year. This conference, which, as I said, is an annual conference, deals with the first department primarily. Last year we did try to answer some questions. This year we focused on one of the panels we talked about last year. So I will talk later about the program, but first we're going to have a few words coming from the presidents of these institutions or their representatives. I would like to call to the podium Dr. Mehmet Bulut, director of our university. Dr. Bulut. And Dr. Luay Safi, representing the College of Islamic Studies at Hamad bin Khalifa University. Our second partner and third speaker has just arrived. His plane was late, so if he makes it, would be great. If not, you will see him later, Jonathan Brown, the director of the Center for Muslim Christian Understanding at Georgetown University. So without further ado, I will call Dr. Bulut to the podium to give his welcoming speech to the audience. Dr. Bulut.
Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. Distinguished guests and speakers, visitors and members of press, ladies and gentlemen, sisters and brothers. I am honored to welcome you all to the second international conference on the Muslim Ummah here at Istanbul Sabahattin Zaim University. Istanbul Sabahattin Zaim University is a unique academic institution in Turkey because of its history and current role in providing unique education to the public. It was established in 19th century, 1892, by Sultan Abdülhamid II as an agricultural and veterinary school. One of its first graduates was the great Turkish poet and author of Turkish national anthem, Mehmet Akif Ersoy. In its present structure, IZU was relaunched in 2010. We now have over than 10 million students from nearby 10,000 students by 80 countries, while we offer 34 undergraduate majors, more than 50 master programs, and nearby 20 PhD programs. One of our great achievements is the establishment of the Center for Islam and Global Affairs, CIGA, in 2017. It's our way to engage scholars from across the world to discuss problems and challenges impacting the world, but especially the Muslim world, as well as examine ideas and solutions that will help alleviate suffering and conflict and bring peace and development around the world. I want to begin by thanking our co-sponsors at Georgetown University and Hamad bin Khalifa University for supporting this important event at a truly critical time for Muslims around the world. We express our gratitude and thanks to all those who helped make this event possible and for their hard work and diligence. I would like to extend my appreciation to Dr. Sami Al-Aryan, the director for the center, for his unique and ongoing contribution to the study of Islam in a global context, and for his service to this university, as well as to CIGA staff for their great efforts in organizing this second conference for the future of Islamic Ummah. Last year, we hosted the inaugural conference on the Muslim Ummah, where the theme was re-examining the very notion of the Ummah and working to develop a new conceptual paradigm divided into 7 sessions over the course of 3 days. More than 2,000 prominent scholars and researchers addressed a variety of social, political, economic, epistemological, and ethical questions of relevance and concern to the nations and communities that together make up the basis of the Muslim Ummah. We are proud to have some of these scholars with us again this year and are delighted to welcome a number of new scholars to continue this conversation. The focus of this year's conference will build on one of the sub-themes from last year's conference, the fault lines and perils facing Muslim societies. At a time in history when issues like nationalism, secularism, sectarianism, and colonialism continue to exert incredible pressure and influence on the lives and destinies of Muslims across the world, it is not only essential that we know how to understand, express, and outline these multilateral problems, but it is also incumbent upon us, thinkers, researchers, scholars, and academicians, to articulate some of these potential ways by which we, and by that I mean we as citizens of the world, can begin to advance solutions. To put it simply, the problems we face as Muslims are not easy ones to discuss. They are even harder to solve. In Palestine, the Israeli occupation rages on with little to no action from international leaders. Following the announcement by the American administration to relocate its embassy to Jerusalem, social and diplomatic outrage ensued across the world, from Muslims to non-Muslims alike. Yet, despite the visible concern many displayed for this breach of international law, and despite the dangerous implications such a brazen political move may have on peace in the region, very little was done about it, and the issue has now all but faded into the background. In Yemen and Syria, war, starvation, and exacerbated bouts of sectarian conflict continue unabated. In Iraq and Libya, instability and extremism persists, and in those countries where a sense of stability does exist, it is often marred by the authoritarian threats citizens face to their most basic rights and freedoms. As with Palestine, much of the world is aggrieved about these tribulations, but few are able to articulate a way forward. Recently, Turkey too has its fair share of problems, with the impact of the aftermath of coup attempt not too long ago, the recent decline of the currency and its disruption of economic growth, and with the presence of many refugees who are fleeing the terror and the rate of war, Turkey has faced great challenges that demand clear and immediate solutions. In recent times, the problems of the lack of democracy, freedom of expression, and rule of law in the aftermath of the Arab Spring setbacks have been acute and on the rise. With the disappearance recently and possible murder of the Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi at the Saudi consulate here in Istanbul, the world has responded with shock and horror, demanding answers not only to his whereabouts, but also to some basic fundamental questions. Still are not clear, and we do not know what's happening. To live a life of freedom, dignity, and peace is the desire of every human being, Muslim and non-Muslim, wherever they may exist around the world. The ultimate question is, how can we build a world in which we ensure this desire becomes a sustainable right, a world in which we reorient the discussion from out to is? It is my sincere hope that these next 3 days will help pave the way in the admittedly long but necessary road toward an answer. We are truly privileged to have among us a world-class range of thinkers, scholars, and academicians who will help us navigate through a wide variety of problems, from globalization to multiculturalism to nationalism and beyond. May the discussions and ideas we share at this conference be fruitful and beneficial not only to the wider Muslim Ummah, but also to scholars, researchers, and citizens of conscience wherever they may be, and to all citizens of the world. Thank you all once again for being with us today, and I pray and hope for a fruitful and successful conference. And I would like to thank to all organizers and for all of you to being with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bulut. I overlooked introducing him. Dr. Bulut, of course, is economic historian by trade. He had a PhD from the University of Utrecht in the Netherlands, and he's been chairman of a department as well as a full professor, as well as a dean of a college and vice president at Yildirim Beyazit University, and served on the Turkish Academy of Sciences as well as the Higher Education Council, and has been a very active rector of this university that has grown under his tenure for more than double. Thank you, Dr. Bulut. Our next welcoming speaker is Dr. Lu'ay Safi from the College of Islamic Studies at Hamad bin Khalifa University. Dr. Safi is representing the dean of that college, our friend Dr. Imad Din Shaheen. Dr. Safi is a professor of political science at that college and a senior fellow at several institutions. He has taught at many universities, especially in the United States and Malaysia and Qatar. And he's also has been very active in human rights as part of the several organizations dealing with Syria, and is the author of many books, including The Quranic Narrative, Tensions and Transitions in the Muslim World, Peace and the Limits of War, and The Challenge to Modernity. Dr. Safi.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Good evening to all of you. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the College of Islamic Studies at Hamad bin Khalifa University at Doha. Let me say a few words about the college that I'm representing. It is a new institution that was founded about 10 years ago, in 2008. And it has 4 programs. It has Islamic Studies, Islamic Finance, Islamic Architecture, and we have currently developed a new program titled Islam and Global Affairs. So probably after you, well, we have been thinking before you started though. But you're right, I mean, we do appreciate that the work you are doing. And we are delighted to be partner with your program and with the university, Zaim University, to have this important program. Of course, the program addresses or focuses on the challenges facing Muslim societies today, and there are many, and they are getting complicated by the decade. Now, they are complicated, difficult, as it was pointed out by the first speaker, but I guess our duty as people who have made career in trying to understand societies and human beings and change, it is our duty to shed light, to clarify the picture, to bring clarity, because defining the issues, defining the forces, understanding what's going on is the most important step in addressing and moving toward a better future. I am always optimistic. I think the entire Muslim world has been going through tough times, to say the least, but I see under the surface many currents that give me really a lot of hope and optimism. There are changes, real changes taking place at the level of consciousness, which is, to me, the most important level of change, because that's where all changes start. So hopefully in the next few days, we will together try to address some of those issues and bring more clarity to ourselves, as well as hopefully later on to share our ideas with the wider board. I would like really to acknowledge, of course, we are partners, but the heavy lifting have been done by the CIGA and particularly by its able director, my good friend, Professor Sami Al-Aryan, who has maintained this high level of energy since I knew him maybe 30 years ago or more. So he's still the young man at heart who is willing and able to really bring a lot of good things, and he has managed to gather here a very special group of scholars and intellectuals for us really to hash out some of those issues, as I said. So with this, I would like to wish everybody a good time in the next 3 days, and hopefully we get to know one another more and share our ideas and our hopes for a better future for Muslims and for the entire humanity, because I see them, they are becoming more and more interconnected. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Safi. For decades, scholars and academicians have been debating the causes behind the steep decline in wealth and power across Muslim-majority countries during the past 2 centuries. There are certainly many explanatory theories for the resulting strategic weaknesses of many of these societies, their relative political disintegration, and the abject failure in maintaining functioning, stable states or capable of providing their citizens with basic social and economic needs. With the arrival of the colonial European powers in the 19th century, the collapse of the Ottoman Empire in early 20th century, the rise of the nation-state system, and the imposition of the neoliberal order by global powers, Muslim societies have had to contend with great challenges from vastly a disadvantaged position. Last year, the conference aimed to re-examine the meaning of the Muslim Ummah in the modern world. This year, this conference will expound in greater detail on one of these topics, which was discussed last year, namely fault lines impeding the development and progress of Muslim societies. The objective of the conference is to bring leading scholars in their respective fields in order to engage in thoughtful discussions regarding some of the major internal fault lines facing the Islamic world and explore appropriate responses. The panels will not only analyze these topics and present prescient assessments, but will also attempt to present practical perspectives to difficult challenges. We're very privileged to have among us many scholars, as I said earlier. We will have seven sessions, or 6 in addition to the plenary session that will come after this one. The first session, as you see in the program, is titled Conflict and Struggle, the Legacy of Colonialism, Liberalism, and Modernity. And with that, we're honored to have 3 speakers among us, which I will introduce shortly. We will have Dr. Khalil Berktai from Ibn Khaldun University, Dr. Joseph Mas'ad from Columbia University, and Dr. Farid Ishaq from the University of Johannesburg in South Africa. Tomorrow morning, the first session would address the challenge of sectarianism, and with that, we'll also have 3 speakers. Dr. Ahmed Musalli from the American University in Beirut, Dr. Nadir Hashimi from the University of Denver, and Dr. Mehmed Ali Biyukara from Istanbul Shahir University. After that, we'll have the second session, which will address the challenge of secularism. And we have the speakers, Francois Bourgat from the National Center for Scientific Research in France, Dr. Omar Tashgataran from our university, Zaim University, and Dr. Hiba Raouf Izzat from Ibn Khaldun University. In the afternoon, the third and final session for tomorrow will address the issue of the role of religion in society. And the speakers are Dr. Joseph Lombard and Dr. Luay Safi, both from College of Islamic Studies at Hamad bin Khalifa University, and Dr. Jonathan Brown from Georgetown University. On Tuesday, the first session would address the issue of the challenge of nationalism. The 3 speakers are Dr. Hafsa Kanjwal from Lafayette College in Pennsylvania, Dr. Sarah Shields from the University of North Carolina, and Dr. Shinar Akturk from Koch University. The final session addressing a particular problem is the challenge of colonialism, and will include, among others, Mujib Khan from University of California, Berkeley, and Dr. Joseph Mas'ad as well, and myself. The last session would be an open discussion in 2 panels with about half a dozen of these scholars, in which we're trying to discuss about the way forward. How can these issues be understood and analyzed, but not only that, how can we deal with the aftermath and try to bring some, or propose some solutions. So that would conclude the program, hopefully. And we're hopeful that you will stay with us the full 3 days and engage us. There are a few rules. Is that each speaker would be given anywhere between 18, 20 minutes, or little over that. But after that, the moderator will engage the speakers for about 10 minutes, and then will be followed by questions from the audience. Each person who wish to speak will be given up to 90 seconds to state their comment or question. And then after about 20 minutes, we'll go back to the speakers. Each will have about 4 minutes to comment. That will take us just about 110 minutes or so for each session. I apologize that we promised translation, but unfortunately, we were not able to do it. And we did a survey yesterday, and only 10 people asked for it. So hopefully, not too many people have been affected by it. As far as live streaming, we are live streaming right now. So if you would like to tell your friends through whatever medium you have, with Twitter or social, other media social forums, we are live streaming as we speak. Lunch is available for those who would like to have lunch tomorrow, both in the cafeteria, both days, Sunday and Tuesday. With that, we'll bring this session to a conclusion, and then we'll immediately start our first session, plenary session. So thank you, Dr. Balut, and thank you, Dr. Safi. And I would like to call to the stage Dr. Khalil Berktai, Dr. Joseph Mas'ad, and Dr. Farid Ishaq.
بس ما أعطيت العنوان لللايف ستريم. بس ما غيبعت للناس.
Good thing. Yes. Yes. Is live streaming on our website? What's the YouTube? So what do they have to www.ciga.izu. Oh, YouTube-CIGA. That's it. What is it? YouTube-CIGA. That's it. That's what I've been told. Is that it? Amani? Is that it? YouTube-CIGA? Okay. All right.
So, the flash drive.
Can you put it in? Okay, let's see. Can I have the technical person to put that PowerPoint presentation? Bear with me a second here.
Üçüncüsü Zaim'i. Tamam, şimdi ben şey. Göremiyorum ya. Büyütebilir miyiz?
Siz ne zaman söylersiniz?
Şöyle. Bunda şey mi vardı? Biraz bulmam lazım. Biraz kaydırabilirim. Hayır, biraz yukarı kaydırmak Okay, I'm all set.
Come on. The second chair. All right. This session, the plenary session, is titled Conflict and Struggle, the Legacy of Colonialism, Liberalism, and Modernity. As I said earlier, we're going to have our three renowned speakers. Dr. Khalil Berktai Dr. Bektai is a professor and chairman of the Department of History at Ibn Khaldun University. He was a member of the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences at Sabahattin University for many years. He earned his bachelor and master's degree from Yale University, both at the same time. Was that possible then? 1968. You got both of them at the same time, bachelor and master's degree, mashallah. Oh, joined. Okay, great. And then he received his PhD from the University of Birmingham in the United Kingdom. Professor Bektai taught in many universities, including Middle East Technical University, Boğaziçi University, as well as the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. He taught also twice at Harvard University. Dr. Bektai has published 6 books, 2 edited books, and many articles that have been translated to many languages. Dr. Bektai changed a little bit the title of his speech, but he will connect it both nationalism and colonialism. The title of his speech is Umar Seyfettin's Challenge, Mehmed Akif's Response, Turkish Nationalism Search for a Subordinate Islam in the Early 20th Century. Our second speaker is Joseph Mas'ad. Dr. Mas'ad is a professor of modern Arab politics and intellectual history at Columbia University. He's the author of many books and articles, including The Making of National Identity in Jordan, The Persistence of the Palestinian Question, Essays on Zionism and the Palestinians, as well as his newest book titled Islam and Liberalism. His articles also and books have been translated to many languages. Dr. Mas'ad will speak about liberalism versus liberation, the Arab world at present. Our final speaker is Dr. Farid Ishaq. Dr. Ishaq is a scholar of Islam and the Quran and a veteran in the South African struggle for liberation. He completed his studies in the Nizami madrasas in Karachi, Pakistan, and received his PhD also from the University of Birmingham as Dr. Bektai in the United Kingdom. So there is something in common here. He's an author of many books, including Quran, Liberation and Pluralism, another on being a Muslim, and a third, An Introduction to the Quran and Islam, and many other books and articles. Before joining the University of Johannesburg, is also taught at Harvard, another something in common, and many other universities as well. He is currently the chairperson of the Boycott, Divestment and Sanctions, BDS, in South Africa. Very, very active movement within South Africa. And he received the order of the Luthuli, is that how you pronounce it? Luthuli means silver, I guess, in South African, which is the highest national award for his brilliant contribution to academic research and the fight against race, gender, class, and religious oppression. Dr. Ishaq will talk about Muslim societies and modernity, the struggle for liberation and pluralism. Please help me welcome all our distinguished speakers. And our first presentation from Dr. Khalil Bektai. Dr. Khalil.
Hello, everybody. It seems that I have created all sorts of problems for myself. First, because I partially changed my title, and now because what I have on the screen here is so small I cannot possibly read it. So I'm sort of going to guess. Because I'm familiar with my texts, I am hoping that I will point to a certain thing and it'll come out right. My presentation centers on 2 very important individuals in the early 20th century in both Turkish nationalism